Hi, this is Brendan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and I'm here with Joel and Adam, and today we're talking about a 2008 movie called Lake Mungo, directed by Joel Anderson. And this film, the premise is strange things start happening after a girl is found drowned in a lake. Now that's the IMDb breakdown. I should also mention it's a found footage movie that that does not really capture uh, the overall feel of the film at all. But yeah, so Lake Mungo. Why don't we start with Joel? Because I know this was the movie you were very excited to do. So why don't you talk about your thoughts on it first?
Okay, so I came into this movie in an interesting way. There's a plane passing overhead, but I came into this movie in an interesting way because I had never heard of it before. But I tend to like scroll through YouTube
Mm.
in my rare off time, and I'm subscribed to like a lot of like horror analysis channels and things like that because I like to cast a wide net for weird fiction. That's one of the reasons I love having Adam in my, like just in my orbit. Because anytime I need something really unusual, you're like, oh, you ever heard of Cordwainer or Smith? And then the next 6 months, I've got something to do, right? So one of the things that a lot of the channels were on were like, okay, we're not going to spoil this movie, but go watch Lake Mungo and then come back and watch this breakdown of it. And I was like, okay, I got 2 hours. Why not? So I gave the thing a shot, and it really got me. It's I don't know. I'm not usually a found footage guy personally, and I'm not really much of a because it's kind of structured a little bit like a documentary too, like you said,
Yep.
and it's neither of those things. It's something completely different,
Yeah.
and the differentness of it gave me a really uncanny feeling as I was watching it.
Okay.
There's a couple of twists that happen. I'm not going to spoil them this early in the conversation, but there are at least two really significant twists, and really there's more than that,
Yeah.
where your understanding of what the movie even is on a fundamental level is completely altered. And the first one got me so hard, I was like, wait a minute, no, that can't be right. That it kind of made me mad, and I kept watching it, and then it twisted again, and I was like, completely sold. I was like leaning forward in my seat, like, where is this gonna go? And it has an incredibly eerie and uncanny ending that really just left me just spellbound. I couldn't stop thinking about it. So then I went in a deep rabbit hole going and rewatching all those videos. And I started like, I don't know, it became almost like an obsession for like a month or two. And I've had a real soft spot for the movie since then. Every once in a while, when I need a dose of the viscerally uncanny, I'll watch this movie. So I've seen it like 7 or 8 times at this point. I
Okay.
love it.
Okay. So you've got a full command of the film, then I would imagine.
I'd like to think so, but I don't believe
Maybe 10
so.
more 10 more watches and you'll be there.
About 10 more watches, I'll be where I need to be. But mostly, I just love the feeling that it evokes. I think the term uncanny is where this sits
Yeah.
for me. There's something unnerving and haunting about it, like a really disturbing dream you have that you just remember randomly through your life. You're like, oh wow, why did I ever dream that? That's how this movie feels. There's something almost personally haunting about it that I really enjoy.
Okay.
So without any spoilers, that's my vibe of this movie.
And
That's
I
one of
think
the
we
reasons
will
I'm
have
great.
spoilers in this discussion. I think.
Oh yeah, we're
I think.
definitely spoiling the hell of this
Yeah.
movie. So just
Uh,
like those podcasts,
Yeah.
I'm going to warn any listeners who are interested in that kind of thing: don't spoil yourself. It's really, really
I
good to watch it raw.
and
yeah, I did jump in. Yeah, I knew nothing watching this movie, and I think I enjoyed it better for knowing nothing. So yeah, I would be like, go watch it before
mm.
listening to anything more about it, really. But so yeah, I'm telling everyone to turn the podcast off. But
Get the hell out. We'll see you in 2 hours. It's just go. It's on Prime. Go watch it. It's free.
But yeah, thing I would say about this movie, I wouldn't describe this as a horror movie. It's a ghost story, is what
Yeah.
this is. So I think knowing, like, if there's one thing you're going to know, it's good to know that from the standpoint you're like, this is going to be super scary. I'm going to be, it's like it's not a suspenseful,
Yeah.
high adrenaline horror movie or anything. It's a slow burn, atmospheric movie. Because I like Joel, I really did like the atmosphere in this movie a lot. Thought the atmosphere was very well done. The structure's interesting. I think one thing that sets it apart from a lot of found footage movies, the typical found footage movie is the people carrying around the camera with
Yeah.
them and you're seeing it as they see it. Most of the found footage stuff in this is talking heads, people being
Yeah.
interviewed. And so 90% of the story in this, you're picturing it, but you never saw it. It's just people telling you stories,
Yeah.
and you're seeing the places and the people. So it's very easy for you to picture what they're telling you because you know all the
Yeah.
pieces and you're putting it together as they're telling it to you, which I really like it when movies aren't afraid to actually just tell you a story as opposed to show you something. It can be a really useful technique, especially when you're dealing with something ambiguous like a ghost story.
Mm.
I mean, it's like I always point to like I really liked in the first season of Game of Thrones the way anytime they talked about the Robert's Rebellion that happened a generation earlier, they never do a flashback. It's just people telling stories about it, and so you're never quite sure what's true. You're just kind of getting people's
Yeah.
recollections rather than getting a flashback that's boom, here's the camera showing you exactly
Here's
what happened
exactly
20
what
years
happened.
ago. But
Yeah, which would kind of ruin it, right?
yeah, exactly. But yeah, so but yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a slow burn. You got to be in the mood for it. But yeah, I did think it dragged a little bit in a couple of places, but I give it a thumbs up.
And
So
so,
Brendan.
yeah, no, I mean, number one, I'm glad that I watched it because I did think that it was an interesting movie just in terms of how it was made. Like Adam was
Hmm.
saying, it was made. It looked almost like a PBS documentary of
Hmm.
like some family that had a haunting and a death, and and I think you could show it to somebody and fool them if they didn't know this was a movie. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like
Oh, yeah.
they might pick up on it maybe, but I think it looks more like a real documentary than most other fake
Yeah, the
documentaries
performances
I've
were very
seen. Yeah.
naturalistic. I think a lot of found footage movies, you've kind of got Hollywood acting going
Yeah.
on in it. It doesn't like, I like
Yeah.
Chronicle, but
The
Chronicle, you could never, well, I mean, superheroes for one thing, but it just
Oddly
doesn't
enough, the,
feel
the
that.
only time you even sensed it wasn't a real documentary was when it felt like the actors were trying too hard not to act. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like they were, you know what I mean? Like,
Too
that was
restrained.
about as close as it came. But I did I
Uh-huh.
found the movie very boring, and I had a very hard
Mhm.
time watching. Like it was a struggle. I was like, oh man, this is not getting any faster as it goes. Because I thought, oh okay, they're gonna give us the background. We're gonna get the background, and then like 20 minutes in, and then we'll see like the juicy ghosts and the and I didn't get any of that. And I think maybe I was coming into it. Number one, I'm just not built for movies like this. I
Mhm.
react very negatively to movies. Again, not all the time. Like I like a film like 2001, which is a very slow burn. But if a movie just doesn't connect with me right away and it's doing that, I'm gonna have a hard time.
Well, in
Um,
2001, so visually captivating, right? Like, there's a lot
Yeah.
more going on to grab your attention and command it than there is in this
yeah,
movie,
this,
where,
this is
yeah, I'm saying
largely
they're telling you
about
stories.
the people talking on screen and being interested in what they're saying. And if you cease painting a picture in your mind constantly because you're losing interest, it gets harder to watch. And so I
Yeah.
think
Mhm.
I think that um, I had a hard time with the movie. But I was really just sort of like I thought found footage. This is going to be like Blair Witch or paranormal. Like I thought we were going to see people getting killed. I was expecting a lot more carnage, and so I was like, oh okay now like. And then when it got to the end, I was like, oh okay now the mom is going to get killed by her. Like I thought something horrible was going to happen at the end, and it didn't. And I was like, wait, not like so.
No!
So
Where's
that
the
was my,
witch?
and even the big reveal, which I thought looked cool. Like I thought the image of it looked cool. The only complaint I have about that is because it's 2008 and they're using a digital camera. It's so grainy that it's a little bit like vague what you're looking at. Which again, they were probably going for anyways. But
Yeah, I think
um,
that was the
yeah,
aesthetic they were angling towards. Still, that's a valid complaint. I on rewatching, I actually do agree with that. I think it's just a little bit too grainy for me to be really like taken
but
in by it.
but the thing about it was I was kind of like, well, okay, so she saw herself, which is an interesting idea. But I think what bothered me about that was I didn't find that as scary as the possibilities I was contemplating. Do you know what I mean? Like I honestly thought like I was like, okay, there's something weird going. What was the guy named Ray? Was that the guy's name?
Oh yeah, Ray.
Yeah, like,
Ray.
there's something up with Ray. He knew her before, and so it's like, okay, he killed her. He definitely killed. And so I thought that whatever happened at that trip was going to be she saw Ray, and so when it turned out to be this weird premonition thing, I was like, oh, okay, like, but I didn't really.
Well, all right then. That
Yeah.
seems reasonable.
Yeah, but it didn't spook
You know what's
me.
you know what's less scary than a murderer? A ghost.
Well,
of
well, not even that, but like
myself.
your own ghost, right? Like your own, like your premonition of your death. Like I get it. It just for whatever reason, it wasn't what I was expecting to. It was kind of like my expectations.
I know what scares me the most is what I expect exactly. If I expect something and see it coming, I'm so scared about it.
No, it's that. No, but you know what I mean. Like it's not even in the ballpark of what I was expecting. Like,
Yeah.
like
But
I'm
here's the depth
expecting.
of that joke is that's what happened to her.
I guess
That
so.
was the
Yeah.
scariest thing, right? So.
I mean,
the
I guess
joke
so.
that keeps on giving right there, Brendan, my man.
I guess so, but I was just expecting something more in the realm of horror with that, and it was kind of more like that was really the thing that allowed for the resolution of the family, so it kind of ends with everybody being like, oh, we're letting it go. And so this is what I thought was going to happen when they had the party. I was like, oh, okay, now they're keying up, and the whole family's going to get slaughtered by the ghost because she doesn't want them to leave the house. And so I was actually excited about that. I was like all this waiting, and I finally get the carnage, and and so
You really wanted this to be like way more.
I
bloody
really
and
wanted a
active. Wow.
massacre at the end. I needed
Where's the
like
blood?
I needed something to happen
Catharsis,
that was
blood
awful.
catharsis.
Yeah. So
But I'm gonna have to have you watch The Last Exorcism at some point. That movie goes off the rails at the end, which is great.
I might wait. What was the last exorcism? Which one is that?
It's another found footage movie. It's just
Oh, I
about
don't
a
think
guy
I've seen
before
that
his
one. I
exorcism.
don't think I've seen that one.
It definitely it has that escalation you're talking about, where it starts off as like it's a found footage / documentary thing. It's about a guy doing exorcism, and kind of much like in The Exorcist, he's like, yeah, I don't know if this is real, and then he gets a real case, and the movie just gets more and more progressively.
That's what I wanted.
grotesque.
That's what I wanted
Yeah.
from this movie.
Well, and that's a great movie. Like that
Uh.
exact escalation is a fantastic arc, and I love The Last Exorcism. So I think that would probably be a little maybe next time.
Maybe we'll do that one. Maybe we'll do that one.
Yeah. Compare and contrast.
But I will say that they all that said, they did some interest. Like obviously this is very highly rated. A lot of people like it. So my opinion is not like the standard opinion of this movie.
Sure.
And
I think you're entitled to your opinion.
no,
right?
but I think I understand. Like, okay, this movie did something that made it resonate with people. And I think one of the things that I at least noticed while I was watching it that I could appreciate was something that you had mentioned before the podcast, which is there's all these little twists and turns along the way. And so even if I was bored, it's like, oh, okay, what about the neighbor? Okay, what about this? It's like, okay, I want to find out, like in the stuff with Ray that I mentioned, it's like, okay, something's up with Ray. I really want to, it does
Just
hold
the
your
fact that he
attention.
knew her beforehand and didn't tell anyone is like that's such a weird, upsetting moment. You're like, wait,
Yeah.
you talked to her before we met you? What?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I gotta say, one thing too, I was thinking about with this movie too. There's just a lot of parallels to Twin Peaks. It's about
Yeah.
a girl who dies, and her death reveals a bunch of mysterious secrets and weird supernatural happenings. And it turns out that the what we'll call him a therapist figure. He's not really a therapist, but the therapist figure was seeing the murder victim beforehand, and it was a secret. And there's just so many things. I was like, that's just like Twin Peaks. They're very
Okay,
different.
yeah.
Just 'cause the format's so
Well,
different.
there's a lot of little nods and winks to Twin Peaks on a rewatch. You'll be like, oh, okay, I see what you did there. Like Palmer is the
Yeah.
family name. You're
Yeah.
like, is that the family name? Is it? Twin Peaks is it? Yeah. So those of you who are David Lynch nerds will appreciate this.
Oh
on the
yeah, of
David
course,
Lynch
Palmer
level.
too. I didn't even
See?
pick up on that.
And it's all about that
obvious.
lady
Oh my
on a
God.
lake. Like, I mean, it's pretty obvious whenever you think about it. But
Oh man.
yeah, see, you picked up on it. You knew. We're
Oh
gonna
yeah,
expect
of
more
course.
Brendan
I don't
with
even
Twin
feel
Peaks.
clever for picking up on it now that there was like that huge honking clue there that I missed. It's like
Well,
now I
like I
feel
said,
stupid.
this movie opens up a lot on rewatches. That's one of the reasons why I recommended it, because like I kind of wanted to see what your guys' initial reaction was, because I have a lot of thoughts about this movie that's been refined by multiple viewings and like other like because there's like a community. The reason it's highly rated isn't because it's some runaway super popular movie, right? I think the average reaction from the average person would be Brendan's, because
Okay.
it's a little bit dry, right? And it's kind of cerebral, and for the audience that it's aimed for, it's catnip. Like this is Joel
Okay.
Candy. This movie is, right. I understand that, but I'm smart enough to realize that my opinion's not a majority opinion. That's why the tiny amount of people that have watched this love it. They adore it, right? Because there's not a lot that does this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I
And
don't.
also, to be fair, like my standard diet is pretty low brow. I've been watching Chuck Norris movies all week, right? So like
I wouldn't say
yeah,
that's lowbrow at all. I think that
I wouldn't say it's
stereotyped
highbrow
as-
either, though.
Well, okay, but it gets stereotyped as lowbrow, and that's not
Yeah.
fair. I think if you
No, but you know what I
engage
mean.
with
It's
people,
not.
engage.
It's not like this kind of movie. I guess.
Well, okay, you're right. It's not one of those fart huffer movies like I love, right? Which this is a fart huffer movie.
Fart huffer movie.
Yeah.
You can thank South Park for that one.
We'll call you Joel Fart Huffer from now on in the podcast. Joel
That's-
Fart Huffer.
Something I found interesting in the movie is, obviously about a family dealing with death, but it actively brings up like rituals of death and kind of
Yeah.
how they're missing from a lot of people's lives. Like there's a scene where it's people that know them. I don't know if they're neighbors or whatever, but there's that woman who's interviewed who's with the church, and she's like, I didn't really know how to help them. They weren't part of the church either, which meant I didn't have that.
Yeah.
And so there's that part. And there's also the part with Ray, the psychic, where he's talking about where I come from. We hang the sheets over the mirrors and all of that. And he said, and that makes a difference. He literally
Yeah.
says that. So it's like there's 2 points in the movie where they bring up the fact that this family just doesn't have any
and-
actual rituals for dealing with death.
No, and I thought that was interesting. I did think that was interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's, God, and again, it's one of those things that opens up because you realize as you watch the movie that she's haunting it in a literal as well as a figurative sense.
Yeah.
Right? She's never really alive in the movie. We come to it and she's already dead. And the family's constantly trying to find some kind of closure, some kind of ritual, some kind of end to the mystery of it, and they never get it. At the end of the movie, they move out and drive away, but the very last frame of the movie shows another ghost image of her still in the house.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
Still
on top of
exactly where
that-
she was.
Well, we literally have that recording where it juxtaposed the last recordings with the mother and Alice.
Yeah.
And it literally
so
shows
creepy.
she is still there and she's just walking past her
Yeah.
and doesn't see her and leaves the room. So that
Yeah.
they hit you 2 points with that.
And then she has
that
the
message at the
dream
end.
about haunting her mother, which her mother complains about having that dream after she died, where she was at
Yeah.
the foot of the bed and she was dead and didn't know it. And it's like
Yeah.
there's still something going on. This closed loop doesn't close. She's stuck in some kind of purgatory, and it's not pleasant.
Yeah,
it's
I did
so
pick up on
unsettling.
that. It is. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's like there's the closure on one side with the family, but the
just
daughter does
leave.
not get the closure apparently.
Well, they never have anything like closure in a real sense, though, because like you said, all these rituals fail for them. Everything they try to do fails, and at the end of the day, they move on and they move out, but they leave her behind, right? They don't in any
Yeah,
way
I
really
see what you're
include
saying.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but it's also like unsettling in this wonderfully, again, cerebral, heart huffy kind of way. But I love it. That stuff haunts me.
Yeah, no, I think,
Yeah,
I think,
I mean,
and also not just like death, Adam, but they don't really have a ritual of remembrance either. It seems. You know
Yeah,
what I mean, like,
well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's an important part of the
And it's not even clear
funeral
if they
process.
knew her while she was alive, which is unsettling. Like
Well, exactly.
so many, because like I like when her mom is like she kept secrets and she kept the fact that she kept secrets a secret. It's like, wait a minute, wouldn't you? Isn't that the natural thing you do with secrets? But what that leads into when you think about
yeah,
it
that
is
was an
that
odd
there was
statement. I do have
something
to say, like, the fact that you keep secrets is like that's a weird
I
layer.
never
to,
go up to someone and say, "I've got a secret and I won't tell." Right? Like that's not really how you effectively keep a
people-
secret.
I think some people, are very private about things and keep secret. You know, there's other stuff going on, but you don't know what. It's like she's good enough at it that no one even suspects. I
Mm.
think that's what they're, it's
Okay.
like you could have a friend who it's like, why is she over at the neighbors all the time?
Yeah.
What's going on there? Blah blah. You know there's something fishy, but you don't know what.
Well,
So
every member of her family has that. All of them. Like
true. Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
brother documents everything for our first really big upsetting twist, which is that he
yeah.
faked her haunting even though it turned out to be real. What the hell? Her mother goes into people's houses and just stays there at night to feel a sense of closure. What's that about, right? Their father is completely closed at work and at home and has this other like private life he shares with no one, right? It just kind of comes out in the documentary. Ray is two different people,
Wait,
effectively,
what's the
right?
father's other life? Like, if I might have missed a detail.
The only other life that we can remember when we see him interviewed, he talks about like his family members talk about how they don't really know much about him because he
Mm.
just goes to work, right?
Okay.
And at work, a lot of his coworkers are like, "We don't know anything about him.
Oh,
He
I
just
get.
seems to keep to himself." But when he talks to us through the documentary, we actually get some revelation of who
Yeah.
he is that he shares with no one,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
I see you. I see.
Everyone has a double life in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, and also that was maybe Adam could shed some light on this because some of it too. I was wondering about like there's obviously like when you're dealing with a subject like death, cultural issues kind of become a thing, and so I didn't know like okay, how much is this? This is how Australian people just generally talk about. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know if there were cultural differences at work here or if it was just all
I
this
would
is
say on that front, we have kind of the same religious mix for the most part
okay,
as you here. So I would say there probably isn't any difference on that front.
okay, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess the other thing is I know we touched on it when I was giving my opinion, but the spooky central moment, Joel, you wanted to get into that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Let's get the big spoilers here. I think we've spoiled enough of the movie that like the spooky central moment is that it turns out one of the reasons that she got so preoccupied with death was that she had this eerie premonition on a school trip, like at the dry lake in Lake Mungo, which there's another kind of weird duality in the movie. She sees a specter of her own dead, drowned corpse at this lake and gets it on camera and is so disturbed by this that she buries her phone and a bunch of her possessions in like this kind of pre-echo of her own demise. Then she goes and drowns later on at Lake Mungo. And whenever they show her corpse, it looks exactly like the premonition. That's well as exact as like you said, 2009 digital camera technology can get us. So that she really clearly did see a specter of her own looming fate, and she dreamt about it. She went to see Ray the psychic about it, and so there's this weird loop almost in the movie where there's an inevitability to her doom that she seems desperately aware of while alive, and it's this inescapable element of the film. When it comes out, it's like the only scare, like the only legitimate, like almost jump scare thing in the movie, where it kind of holds on this darkness, and then like out of it, you see her body, her specter, come rising out, and then it freezes on that, and it's a very unsettling visual. Like it's a well designed
Mhm.
visual, A, but B, it's the climax of the film horror wise. That's whenever all of the uncanniness that's been simmering through the whole movie finally rises close into the surface that we get a glimpse of it, and then it vanishes back down into the ambiguity of the film. And it's a wonderfully haunting moment. It actually had me turning the lights on around the house the night I saw the film. I was like, "Oh my god, it got me! I'm scared I'm going to see that in the mirror." So that part really, I was completely taken after that moment.
yeah, because I guess the rest of the horror imagery is really kind of more. It's like low level creepiness, right? Like there's like a little
Well, and the
flash of her in the camera or something, but it's not
Yeah,
quite
there's
at
an
the
eeriness, but it's just her. Pictures of
yeah
her where she shouldn't be, which is
yeah
uncanny but not horrifying, or it's not
yeah
terrifying. That's a terrifying moment.
yeah
And the weird thing about it is we've already seen it. One of the first shots of the movie is her bloated dead corpse,
yeah.
right? We know that what
Yeah.
she looks like dead. This shouldn't be upsetting to us, and yet that juxtaposition completely transformed it. It's brilliant stuff. It really got me. I again, if you're, and I think that the comment I made to you before the podcast was, if that works for you, you will
Yeah.
adore this movie, and if it doesn't, then sorry, man, that was it. That's what the movie was about.
Yeah, and again, I think, I mean, again, part of the stumbling block for me was just even getting there was like, I'm looking at my watch. But
Right.
then when I got
Like,
there, it was kind of like, oh, okay, it was kind of like it was not. Again, I had
it
built
does
up
surprise me with
expectations.
you because you're the Ravenloft guy, so you love gothic horror, and the whole film
Yeah,
is a
but let me
consistent
be
building of
clear
that
though.
crescendo.
I love gothic horror, but I don't like the kind of gothic horror that's like so subtle you don't know if the ghosts are even real. Do you know what I mean? So
Well, I
there's like
mean, but this is
there's two parallel lanes of gothic horror. There's like the Anthony Hawthorne style, which again he's a New England writer, so I've read him because of that. But
he did
I found
he did.
the House of Seven Gables very frustrating because it's kind of like
I could see it.
the
I feel like
ghostliness
this
is
is a
there.
little more like turn of the screw. I
Okay, I
feel like
mean
that's where we are with this one.
I like
Again, that
stuff to
doesn't work for
happen. I
everybody.
like Frankenstein's monster to murder his family. Do you know what I mean? Like I like Dracula to kill people. I like horror where there's a certain amount of blood and guts involved.
I mean, fair enough.
And so, I mean, again, not always. Like, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. I appreciate this movie now, but when I first went to see the movie Wolf in high school, I hated it.
Oh
I
yeah.
despised Wolf. And it was because I wanted a werewolf movie, and that was not a werewolf movie in my mind. That
Yeah,
was a
if you've
yeah,
seen like The Howling prior to
yeah,
watching Wolf, it's gonna disappoint you.
yeah.
And it's not. I agree with you. I bounced off Wolf hard the
Yeah.
first time I saw it too, but nowadays I'm like, oh, I see what they're going.
Yeah,
I
now
understand.
I can appreciate it. But generally that's sort of my sensibility as a horror fan is
Yeah.
kind of, I grew up watching like Universal horror movies and stuff, so it's like I have a
No,
very
same. I
very,
was I was Friday the 13th and like Nightmare on Elm Street as a kid. Like
yeah, stuff like
I
that. So,
agree.
yeah.
Like my taste was made in the grotesque, and there's nothing
So,
like I don't want to. This is why I'm not being like judgy with you
mm.
because like you're not wrong. It's a matter of taste.
But I guess it's just like such a fine line. Like I guess for me the perfect gothic horror story would be The Fall of the House of Usher. That's something where
Oh,
that's
that
the
one's
kind of
brilliant.
gothic I like. Stuff like that.
Man,
Um,
that one comes out swinging too. I was
yeah.
rereading that to my kids recently, and I was like, "Oh man!" From the first paragraph, like Poe wasn't messing around with
Yeah.
this.
He's good at that. He's good at like establishing from the very first line, you know.
Yeah.
But
Oh man, I gotta read it again.
yeah, no, that one's also one of his best written ones, I think.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I mean, no, but again, I can see why people would like it. It just wasn't for me.
Well, Twin Peaks is kind of the same way. Me and Adam adore Twin Peaks, but it's been like pulling teeth getting you to get invested in the
Yeah, well,
series.
also I have to get
And
my
it's,
wife interested in it too, so there's that. But it
well,
was,
this is true.
so like but yeah, it is kind of one of those things where there's just certain things that I'm not as easily drawn into, I guess. Um,
Yeah, and Twin Peaks nowadays, Twin Peaks is like that. Back when it was a little more culturally ubiquitous, I think it was easier to get people on the periphery to get a little more invested in it.
probably.
Nowadays, like since we're all staring at our computer screens, it's really hard to share it, and the mystery's done. It's been over for at least 25 years.
But
Um,
But yeah, so what were some of the things you said that the rewatchability of this movie was really important? What have you
well,
noticed in rewatches that you think are details that we wouldn't have seen in the uh,
the
first
most
watch?
I think the most significant thing on the second watch is that you understand psychologically where she was,
Okay.
which you have no context for. Initially, you just assume that this was like a bolt out of the blue and a freak
Mm.
accident, right? And so you're first watching, you slowly come to realize that she knew she was doomed even when going to the lake,
Okay.
right? Like she knew it was going to happen. She just knew exactly how or when. But like the sword of Damocles was over her and she was
Mm.
keenly aware of it. So the second time you watch it, the sense of her being trapped is far more palpable and it's much more sad and upsetting because you can't help but
Okay.
kind of think of yourself in her circumstance. And so everything single time, like for the first half of the movie, um, I didn't realize that there was a call and response element to the dreams of the mother and
Mm.
her dreams, which there are. They
Yeah.
complement each other almost exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
They star in one another's dreams, and that becomes apparent on a second viewing, where I completely overlooked it at first.
Okay.
That haunted closed loop element becomes much more concrete. And there's a lot of eerie moments that kind of stick out even more. Like the first time I watched it, I didn't even really register the scene where they're driving back from the morgue in reverse because the car it wouldn't, like, for whatever reason, that's the only gear they get it to
Yeah.
work in. So there's something about that where like it feels like they're traveling awkwardly through time,
Yeah, that
right?
was
There's something,
interesting. The traveling in reverse was one of the things I was like, "Ooh, something's gonna,"
yeah.
uh,
And when you see that on a second watching, you realize that they're not the only ones who are having to move in this awkward, disjointed way through time.
okay,
Um, there's a lot about like the motives of the characters that becomes a little more nuanced as you watch it a second time. Like you think about like what were the brothers' motives? The first time it kind of seems like he's just like awkwardly trying to find a way to get his mother closure. But then you think about it and you do a rewatch and you're like, well, why would he do it this way though? What was his motive? Why did he go off with Ray afterwards? What's going on with the brother?
Mhm.
And there's all these like little things where you start unpacking them and kind of like picking through the details and you realize that there's a lot going on beneath the surface that you just sort of overlooked on an initial watch. And
okay,
every one of those things gives you another reason to re-examine the movie from a different character's perspective.
okay,
So like that's mostly what happens on a rewatch. Things like my comments about how trapped our heroine is inside of this doom that she's foretold for herself, and the sort of like I don't know, it's not even unjustness, but the sort of almost cosmic vastness of how trapped she is within her mortality, within her death, within the film itself. Like that stuff doesn't really start sinking in until you watch it more than once and you start realizing just how aware she is of where she is in this sort of cosmic closed loop of this Ouroboros fate devouring itself. So like yeah, it's one of those movies where the detail. I think I said this for the podcast. The details really matter,
mhm,
and you notice more details on every rewatch, and it even small details can deeply recontextualize the film.
okay.
So, so yeah, that's the overview, but it's sort of hard to quantify discreetly because like it's a very organic process rewatching the movie.
Hmm.
And what about? I guess Adam, you had mentioned something about Lake Mungo being like I didn't just like a historical detail about it.
Oh, I I don't know. I couldn't find anything particularly relevant. I mean, it's just trivia about the lake, but so yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything exciting there. I
But
Okay.
don't
he said
think.
that like the oldest human remains ever
Oh,
found were in Lake Mungo.
that's true.
That
Well,
feels
the
relevant.
oldest human reigns in Australia. Yeah,
But I
Well,
think
that's
that would
still
make it perfect fodder for a ghost story. I think that's why it was an
it's
interesting
true.
detail.
Okay, fair
Um,
enough. I guess interesting.
but
It is interesting. I like that. I mean, there was what was the other thing? There was some kind of magnetic resonance thing that got discovered that
I
I don't even know
yeah,
what that means.
I have
But it's
no idea
like,
what it means, but
but it orients us towards this place being somewhere that has a sort of significance. One of the things that I like that you guys have mentioned is, I think actually this was your point on with the rituals of death. There's a
yeah,
general disconnect between this family and any sort of history or continuity beyond their own lives. They're very isolated. Like you notice
hmm,
that about them, they don't
yeah.
really have much in the way of friends. They don't have a broader
yes,
social connection. They're not members of the
yes,
church, but the universe definitely has more going on. Right? Ray is an actual psychic who's able to read people's dreams. The daughter and the mother are in one another's dreams. There's a true premonition of this girl's death that happens that was caught on camera. It really happened. So there's this
hmm,
vast reality outside of them that they have no real tools to deal with, as you guys
yeah,
pointed out. And it's interested in them. It's interested in their fate, right? In ways that are just so it's interesting when you contrast the closed loop of the family with the closed loop of her doom with this vast openness and this unknowableness of the world itself. Uh,
hmm,
again, you see it on a rewatch.
And
Yeah, the idea that Lake Mungo might have some kind of mystical significance that they just treated it like, oh, we're going away for a thing, yay! They were only interested in its significance to them, and it was like it clearly had more going on, right?
yeah. No, I mean that. 'Cause I am curious what the significance is. 'Cause, it's not the lake she drowns in. It's the lake she goes, well, the dry lake she goes on the trip with
Well, and
school, I think.
it's a dry
And
lake. It's like a ghost of a
yeah,
lake.
well, when you think about it, she saw the premonition a ghost. She saw basically her ghost in a lake that is dead. So she
Yeah,
basically saw herself drowned in a
right.
ghost
In
lake.
both
So
cases, she was at the bottom of the lake. The other thing that the movie never answers that I actually find
uh,
really unnerving is how did she drown?
how
Yeah,
did
they
She just
she
didn't get
does.
into
drown?
that at all. That
She
was
she dies. They just lose
that was
track
the
of
thing.
her.
That was the thing I thought they were going to reveal was that
Nope.
there was a murder or you know
Was
there
there?
was drugs
Because
or there was something.
her brother was with her. The last thing was her brother was with her in that lake. Did
Yeah,
the
and the
brother
brother was
kill her?
super sketchy, by the way. He looks like a
It was.
sketchier version of Timothy
Mhm.
Chalamet. Do you know what I mean? He's got that
Yeah.
just kind of like look.
Like
And
we know for a fact that she had like a torrid affair with the neighbors. Was
yeah,
he
Yeah,
involved in that somehow? Like there's
that's
so
the
much that
other
we
thing.
don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. That was the other
yeah,
thing is there was a
definitely.
lot of motive going around, between
And
them,
then, and
between
then
Ray.
and they
You
vanish.
know,
Right? Like they're gone. Like it's
Yeah,
revealed what happened,
that's another thread too. I
yeah.
forgot about that. That
and then
they vanish.
just like
Hmm.
ghosts, the whole movie's like that. It's just it's so good.
Hmm.
And it's funny
I
because
love
you
that.
never see they're not like characters in the movie in the way that the parents are. They're characters who
Hmm.
you see footage of them interacting with people and things like that from parties or whatever, but you don't have a real handle on them at all the way that you do on the other characters.
No,
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was, but they were definitely a questionable couple, and you would think that there's the possibility that they could have been more involved in this than we've come to realize or whatever.
yeah. And whenever they vanish from the film, whenever the authorities are no longer able to find them, it's dropped. That's it. We don't even they don't even mention it again.
Yeah.
It's just like it didn't even matter. It's like what do you mean? But this could have been the reason she died.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it
just
was, and they're like, yeah, even if we found them, they wouldn't be able to do anything. Like it was just like
everyone
very,
just shrugs about it,
yeah.
like, oh well, that's all we're gonna get from that. What?
But
Like, what a haunting, strange, Kafka-esque ending to that.
but
Yeah, but I mean, the brother situation is odd because when you think about it too, I mean, I can imagine going, swimming across a little reservoir with my sister and then swimming back with her, and I would be aware of where she was. I mean, if
yeah,
she just utterly vanished, I wouldn't get out of the water before I'm like, where'd she go?
yeah,
It's, I
yeah,
don't
Yeah,
know. It is an unusual thing to not be aware of.
right.
So it's
And
not
then
impossible, but odd.
sure, and that's the whole movie. There's a lot of well, that's odd,
Hmm.
well,
and
and
then if you
also the
rewatch
fact
it,
that
you're
it's
like,
not even really explored. There's no like, okay, say what did happen that night. Like it's just not even really probed at all. So
again,
Yeah. Yeah.
even we lack closure from the film.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
about having a lack of
yeah,
closure.
that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. But
So
yeah, I also have to say too, I've got to give my bias on this movie too. So I think I enjoyed the atmosphere, and I mean, partly it's the supernatural, weird atmosphere that Joel enjoys, but being Australian, I just enjoyed, it's like my home state. I'm just like,
okay.
oh, hey,
Do you
this
know what
looks
part
very
of
familiar
Australia
and
this was
pleasant.
all kind of set in? Is it like one
New
particular area?
South Wales is where it's at. It's the
Okay.
same state where Sydney's located.
Okay. Okay.
So, southeastern Australia.
But yeah, I mean, and I thought the setting did work. That
Yeah.
was, I think it would have. I think I would have been more bored if it was like, okay, I'm just watching an American couple.
The accents and the
Yeah,
location
yeah.
gave you something to
Gave me a
chew on.
little bit
Yeah.
of something. Like, okay, I don't know. Yeah, okay. They got a similar kind of church in Australia that we have here. Okay, like they're just like little things to kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah. Again, I think it's still valuable that I saw it, so I don't regret watching it. And it was
And now
also
when I go off on a tangent, you'll be like, okay, I'll let you yap
no,
a
and,
thing
and
when
again,
you're
and
thinking.
I've also just been like rewatching all the Chuck Norris movies, so like it was a nice break in between, you know what I mean? Because like you do stuff like that, and you have like after a while you start to get nauseous just from watching the same thing. You know
Thing.
what I mean? Variations of the
Yeah,
same thing.
yeah. That's
So
why. That's why I have all these Shaw Brothers box sets, but I haven't watched them all. It's like I
yeah,
don't want to like just watch nothing but that nonstop.
you
But
have to
yeah,
do
I
everything
mean,
in kind of cycles and stuff. You can't just
Yeah.
you can't just plow through genre like that. And because I've done that, and what ends up happening is you watch like 100 movies, you're like, whoa, like
Yeah.
I remember them all as one movie now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that happens
I
to
could
me
see it
too.
too. This movie could be useful for GMs who run Strange Tales of New England too, 'cause it does have kind of the like for example, I think Ray would be an interesting NPC or PC in a Strange
Yeah,
Tales of
he
New
would
England
definitely
game.
fit in the, and also he's sketchy enough that like I'm kind of wonder about
Uh-huh.
what is, what's really going
Is he
on
a
with Ray.
charlatan or
Yeah,
is he
yeah. I
a
think he is a
psychic? How do you
charlatan.
want to
I
play the
do think he is a
character?
charlatan. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't get the impression that his abilities were genuine. I thought that because he even kind of said
No,
that he's like, yeah, nobody really even knows what happens when you die anyway, so it's all up for grabs. There was
exactly.
like a real kind of like, does this guy even believe in any of the stuff that he's selling people?
Well, the
Yeah.
crazy thing is, even if he's a charlatan, he does interact with this, right? He has a
Well,
real
through the
effect.
hypnosis, he's bringing up their dreams, and the dreams
Well,
are
and he
revealing some
can
truth. As yeah,
through time and the mortal fabric, he managed to connect the mother and daughter past the veil of death. That really happens in this movie,
yeah,
right?
That's
So even
yeah,
if
true.
he's a charlatan, he got something right. A broken clock syndrome, right? But he was at least
yeah,
right those two
Hmm.
times.
yeah.
He was
Fair enough.
literally
Fair
right
enough.
two times, like a broken clock. Oh my god.
So
This movie's deep, man, and
I don't
it's
know if the movie's deep or if like I'm just seeing connections where they don't exist, but I don't even care at this point.
yeah, you're just having a breakdown from seeing this too many times. But
Eyes
that's
are
fine.
bleeding on the 50th viewing. I can't stop watching it.
so But we're coming up on 40 minutes, so I don't know if we want to give our
Ooh,
final
goodness.
thoughts on.
We should probably wrap it up.
Yeah. Um. Hmm. I think I've given all my thoughts, to be honest. Like I say, if you if you like ghost stories as opposed to horror stories, this is worth a watch. But if you're don't pull this out for a Halloween party. That would be a mistake.
This could be the last thing you pull out at like 3 o'clock when everyone's already as drunk as they're gonna get.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, if everyone's just crashed out on the couch and lying around, that's the time
I
you could break this out.
I do wonder how this plays watching with other people. I do because one thing I saw is some people were commenting you want to watch it alone, but I was actually thinking it might be more interesting to watch with people because you'll
Oh,
be
definitely.
asking questions of the movie
Mm-hmm.
together.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, if you like found footage movies, this is definitely, it's obviously an important found footage movie. So certainly watch it for that reason, and do know that it's not a full on horror movie. If you go in with my expectations, you're going to be disappointed. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
measure, going in with this, just a sense of like openness is probably the better way to approach it. But it just wasn't for
Yeah.
me. It just wasn't for me.
You got to kind of let the movie come to you. I agree with that, and you need to interrogate it. Right. That's the proper way to watch the
Yeah.
film. If you're watching with people that have that same kind of inquisitiveness and they're willing to pause the movie and talk about it, like I think that would be a great experience. But yeah, if you're expecting something a touch more visceral or with any amount of action whatsoever, yeah, this is going to be a tremendous disappointment. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that was an expectation, or else I would have been like, don't just.
Well, it wasn't
Don't
from you. It was
trust
from
me.
when I looked up the Wikipedia page and I just kind of skimmed through the reaction section and I thought, oh, this is like a fabulous. I don't even know what gave me that impression, but I just had this, found footage. Like I just was expecting more for whatever reason in terms of the horror.
Fair enough.
But all right. So why don't we wrap it up there? And I don't know what movie we're doing next, but we'll be back on soonish. And until next time, we will talk to you later.